Told y'all, we got the game on lock. Crank Lucas the rap deucer. Team Real Racing. Y'all already know we won. Off-road racing, quick as in the desert. To the finish line, passing through the checkers. It's Team Real, we just much better. When we on the track, we apply that pressure. People lined up screaming from the sideline. When they see the UT class fly by, or they see me in the truck doing drive-bys, in the Parker Dam or in the Baja. Every time you see me rolling through inside a buggy, and I'm counting up the money, cause I came to multiply it. Push a 1200 horsepower in the motor, you don't really wanna race me, I dare you to try it. Started up the engine, now my wheels on fire. Zooming through the track while I'm running up the rubber. Better get them slow waves out of my water. You don't wanna see the shark or there's a crusher. It's Team Real, y'all know what the biz. Crank Lucas and I'm spinning on the wheel. Doing 160 past you so fast when the wind hits your body, get the chills. Telling everybody they can eat my dust, but I guarantee you won't beat my best. Popping champagne when I'm at the finish line and I'm holding up the trophy and I beat my chest. What first place look like it's me? I don't do twos and I never met a three. People know the Team Real logo when I'm running through the desert and I'm running all through the streets. Never have to cap my race game tight. My vehicles can go all night. Foot up on the gas, I can never break right because I'm allergic to all the red lights. Team Real, Team Real. Everybody thinking that they faster till they gotta race. Team Real, Team Real. All about the speed and you can see it all up in my face. Team Real, Team Real. Real scared money don't make no money. It's Team Real, Team Real. Hit the motor rumble and the tires burning from the rubber. Team Real, Team Real. Everybody thinking that they faster till they gotta race. Team Real, Team Real. All about the speed and you can see it all up in my face. Team Real, Team Real. Real scared money don't make no money. It's Team Real, Team Real. Hit the motor rumble and the tires burning from the rubber.
You want to know what's going on in your dirt sports world? Whether it's four wheels, two wheels, Dirt Sports World's got you covered. From the dirt to the dunes, we bring you the latest action in racing, to lifestyle, the newest parts, the newest vehicles, and what the superstars of off-road are up to. Check out our social media for up-to-date information on Instagram, Facebook, Dirt Sports World, and more in depth, and check out the magazine at www.dirtsportsworld.com. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel, Dirt Sports World, for some great videos. So make sure to follow us and come get dirty with us.
Once again, reigning supreme, Connor Barry, the three-time iRacing Short Course National Series champion.
One thing I would like to tell my competitors is the job is not done yet.
You can see that Luke Canutt wants to end the season on a high, did not want the fight to end like this.
Second place in the championship, but that's not over yet.
But the championship leaders banging and rubbing doors on the run towards the line. Oh. Connor Barry tried everything. Experience from the real world to the virtual as well, because then Dashley makes a mistake.
It's going to be a new Dashlette this year, so hopefully this means that I'll be running up front more.
and history made. Team Gold and Briley on top.
One thing I'd like to tell all the competitors for 2025 is watch out, Team Gold's coming.
The 2-year wait for victory lane may continue for Keaton Swain.
Winning is important. You know, I show up to win, so obviously winning is everything.
I'm really excited about Long Beach. I think it's going to be a great venue for the iRacing Short Course League. Being a sponsor for it as well is going to be really cool. I think it's going to be one for the books. I'm excited to see what happens, and I can't wait to show everybody what's coming for it.
I am definitely excited for Long Beach. It's going to be a nice little switch up from the normal stuff we have on here since we only have 4 tracks.
At first I thought the truck track combination was going to be rough, considering the type of turns at Long Beach and the Pro 4 kind of being more on the understeer. We'll see. I guess time will tell, but I'm interested to see how it's going to turn out.
I am excited for Long Beach because I am the only one who's ever won there before, so I'm hoping to make it 2 for 2.
It's going to throw a wrench in the situation for a lot of the teams out there, and having all these trucks on the same track in those tight corners it's going to be interesting. So excited to see how it plays out.
It's time to switch dirt for tarmac as we get set to go once again in the iRacing Short Course National Pro 4 Series. But on the streets of Long Beach for the signature Propellers Long Beach Surfside Showdown, it's a whole new world that these drivers dive into live on RaceSpotTV. Hi folks, I'm Junior Cake Party, joined as ever by the voice of off-road Dave Arnold as we get set to go racing. Dave, I love Long Beach. I love Pro 4 trucks. I've never commentated on them together, but I think we're in for quite a blast here today.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this. I mean, we've done Pro 2s here, but not the Pro 4s. It's another animal. I think it's going to be a little bit more, of course, just like on a dirt track, this Pro 4 is going to get them a little bit deeper into the corners, but nevertheless, it's not going to disappoint. It's kind of funny as I'm looking at this shot right now. I was actually in that first condo on the top floor watching this last year in real life.
Sounds like a pretty good place to go watching. A big shout out to Signature Propellers as well for providing some additional support for this year's event, and we have a special winner's trophy for whoever comes out on top. Let's take a look at the schedule as we hit the halfway mark of the Pro 4 National Series. Of course, Pro 2 National competition to come later on this summer. After this, it's a return to the tracks that we've become familiar with. Crandon twice, the big house, of course. But Dave, this in many ways, halfway through the championship, we're starting to figure out who the shakers are at the top of the leaderboard.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, Connor is not disappointed whatsoever trying to back up another championship here. He's been on point, but he can be beat. And I'm seeing some fast drivers right now. Keaton Swain, a little bit quicker than him, Matt Adams. So this is going to be real interesting. But, the usual suspects, they're sitting within the top 10, as we would expect.
Drake Mittag won last time out, so Connor Barry 3 wins in a row to open up the season, but Drake Mittag still not even inside of the top 10. It's 11 points that split Barry from Swain, and then another further 18 points back to Luke Canup, and Nicholas Dashley, who's had a pretty good start to the season, sits fourth with Nicky through the top 5. Like you say, though, Barry could be caught, and this could be a pivotal run through the championship, because, Dave, I think ultimately, we always talk about chaos playing its part in short course racing, but today in particular, with the unknowns that we've got in front of us, I think the heat races, the LCQs, and the main event all going to be so unpredictable.
Oh, yeah, and of course, this is all walled off. There's K-rails, there's catch fencing all the way around this. You touch a wall, you're going to bounce off it. You can take out an entire field. We've seen it in the Long Beach Grand Prix. We can see it here in iRacing Short Course. So don't count any mayhem to not be seen tonight.
Let's look at the team standings with Factory Sim Sport not far in front of Channel 199 Sim Racing, and Matt Adams, who was fastest in practice representing Channel 199, will hope to try and narrow that margin here today. Let's talk about the format. As qualifying rolls out on track, drivers get the track to themselves and 4 laps to run in a 10-minute session. So with lap times around 1 minute 30 seconds, they've got some time with which to work. Qualifying does mean they can't hit the wall, they can't run off the track limits either. They've got to be very clean, something they won't have to do in the 4 heats, the 2 LCQs, and the 10-lap main event, where we're only going to invert the top 2. So Dave, whoever wins heat number 2 starts on pole position.
And that's going to be so important, I'll tell you. Like I said, this is a little bit tighter. There's narrower exits and entrances coming out of this. And you can see there's walls everywhere. You tap that wall, you see the barriers, there's a little contact there. You get out of shape. Could be real interesting. Now, it looks like Connor Berry, having a good run here. I'm looking at the timing still. It looks like Matt Adams was quickest.
He was quickest, but not by as much as he was when you and I started looking at the times. It was 7 tenths initially, down to 3 tenths or so with, I think you said it, Keaton Swain second on the board.
It's going to be interesting, but, finding the setup for this track, I know a few guys have run the Pro 2. They said, well, we got, a little bit figured out. Difference is the Pro 4 truck handles so much different than a Pro 2. The setups might have to be reconsidered.
Absolutely. And that's something that I'm sure teams have had the ability of being able to work together more than those running by themselves. You can see the front end dive as onto the brakes hard through the opening left-hander, sweep out to the wall on the right-hand side to try and then straight line the entry into the fountain, where you can use a little bit more on the inside, but the drivers have been told in their driver's briefing to stay on the curb as their limits. See, this is where you'll also see some drivers cut inside of that curb when the racing's underway. Can't do that in qualifying as you head onto the roller coaster halfway through the lap.
Yeah, you got to be a little bit tighter. And of course, the fountain is a no-run zone, whether it's in qualifying or during the race. So a lot of drivers are going to take that into consideration. But, you're going to be able to change the lines up, like you said. Coming out of qualifying, you might have a whole other set of lines that you kind of think about. You might, some guys have probably tested them out and already know before, you don't have to go rent Long Beach. They got it all the time here for you on iRacing.
Big factor. Big factor in the world of sim racing. An IndyCar, by the way, does roughly around 175 miles an hour into turn number 1. I'm curious what these drivers are carrying. We'll see maybe as Mikkelsen exits out of the final corner. It's a relatively decent run to the line, so keep an eye for that if we have fights towards the ends of any of our respective races coming up. There's the timing beam, and it is Matt Adams provisionally fastest with a 1:27.216. It's 3 tenths quicker than Connor Barry, who in turn is 3 tenths quicker than Cody Winicki, but only 7 times so far on the board. And already I'm seeing 3 drivers, Dave, who failed to set a lap time on their first lap, likely for pushing the track limits that bit too far.
Yeah, that's one of the things. And only taking the, pole position in second place for the fastest qualifiers, you definitely don't want to make mistakes. Every lap you do has got to be perfect here in qualifying.
And even brushing the wall in qualifying will make your lap not count. So that's why you see for Trenton Bradley crosses the line to start his second time attempt, but not on the board after the first trip around Long Beach. Front end dips once more as he works the wheel to the left. Mason Prater to 12th, 2.5 seconds the margin. This is going to be the largest gap in qualifying we have this season. Last week, wasn't it a couple of tenths through the entire field?
Yeah, that was the incredible thing, how close they all were. Well, look at back to 6th place. It's almost a second and a half. Even Tyson Miller's a little bit off, and he's one of our faster drivers.
This is different, that's to say the least. Unofficially, we have been here before with the Pro 2s, Luke Knupp on top, but this is the first official competition as Trenton Briley bails from that lap. He's going to reset and maybe take a fresh set of tires. Luke Knupp, I think, is getting ready to start a timed attempt as he swings out wide. That's going to give you a couple of miles an hour down at the end of turn number 1, or in the braking zone, I should say, of turn 1, which is somewhat important here in qualifying.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what kind of speeds he's going to be hitting there. We'll be able to take a look at it hopefully here soon. Get a little, just a curiosity to see, like you mentioned, the 175 mark in IndyCar. Well, I don't think the Pro 4 is going to be quite there, but they're going to be over, I think, the 3 digits, that's for sure.
128 was what I had for Luke Knupp there. So not that slow. I mean, that's still pretty scary in a truck with limited braking potential. Wes Graham's up to 5th. He's 1.1 seconds off pole. Matt Adams is on to what is his 3rd timed attempt, as is Barry and Winicki. So I think a couple of those drivers have come down to pit lane, Dave, and grabbed a fresh set of tires, which is important because in iRacing, the more you heat up the tires, the slower they tend to get.
Well, and that's a big factor here in the dirt. You're not going to heat up tires like you are on the asphalt. I'm sure they've taken that into effect no matter what kind of vehicle you're going to run here. So I can, figure that could be a little bit more damaging to your times.
Even with the relatively cool conditions, it's 19 degrees Celsius out there on track right now, which is pretty cool for a Long Beach morning. How cool would you expect it to be, Dave, if we're racing next week, which they're, of course, getting ready to do out there in the real world?
Yeah, in a couple weeks they'll be out there for sure. And I'll tell you, well, it's overcast this week. We're, they're talking a little bit of rain next week in Long Beach. You never know, but I'll tell you, we've been blessed for so many years. The sun seems to come out and shine on the Long Beach Grand Prix, for sure. And a very cool thing is Roger Penske, who owns IndyCar now, has now recently purchased and are the new owners of the Long Beach Grand Prix. So I expect hopefully another great turnout for it. And how apropos for us to come run it right before, just like the SSTs run on the at the Long Beach Grand Prix.
It's nice, although we have no jump, so we're only partially there. Impact Sim Sport Drake Mittag, winner a week ago. He's still yet to put a time on the board. Sean Winkler's gone to 3rd. Dennis Mickelsen's now up to A. And we are starting to see a bit more competition, but it's all effectively 3rd through 15th as Zachary Drapkin jumps up to 11th right now. Matt Adams and Connor Barry, they're done for qualifying, Dave. 127.015. I think good enough for Matt Adams to sit at the front of heat number 1.
Oh, well, you can see Drake Mittag right now. He's on his final qualifying lap. Let's see if he can get up there and join the ranks. He's pretty deep in the field right now, especially coming off that win last week.
You can see the medal behind him. That's the reward that the winners from the first couple of rounds have had. We have a special winners trophy, though, as mentioned, for this particular event, the signature Propellers Long Beach Surfside Showdown. Say that one 5 times fast. Nicholas Dashley up to 7th.
Yeah, and I can tell you, those folks over at Signature Propellers, the Hill family, when I had my personal watercraft, I was racing. They used to do all my impellers, and we had our boat. Chewed up one of my stainless props, which those things, $400 to $600 to replace them. They fixed it. Those guys are awesome. That's all I can say.
And they joined the likes of Mark 1 Race Gear. You can head to mark1racegear.com, use the coupon code IRSC5 to get 5% off your order, or head to boozyjerky.com and use the code iRacing Short Course for 15% off, all helping make this series a reality. We've got Pro 4 Series running through the first half of the summer, a Pro 2 National Series after that, and then our World Championship at the end of the year. Should be very exciting for Drake Mittag. I'm starting to feel a little bit of tension on his 3rd of 4 attempts, but I don't think he's going to have enough time to get back around and complete the 4th and final attempt. So this is basically do or die. A winner a week ago, and his first win in the National Series. Hugs it tight to the inside there as he tries to get through to the line. Looks down low, but got to focus up to the timing beaming. Shift still well in sync. 127.0 to beat. 128.4 is the time, but at least he's on the board. Should get him into the top 15.
Yeah, that's what you need. You just want to be up there as close, get a good starting position for the heat races, because it's going to be tight. I don't think there's going to be a lot of passing. You might have to get a little physical, do some of the passing. Now, here's a former winner in the Pro 2 category you mentioned earlier, Luke Knupp. Let's see how he's going to do in this one.
I did see the reaction from Drake, not happy, and the lap did not count for some reason, so I'm going to assume that through that final corner, hit the wall on the inside, and that, you can do it in a race, it's not going to cause any issues. Here in qualifying, invalidates the lap time, and Mittag's going to start from the back of one of the heats. Here comes Knupp, though, to the line, 3 seconds to go, and he's not going to be able to finish this one as the clock strikes 0, qualifying ends, and Luke Knupp runs out of time.
Oh, heartbreaking.
Wow, qualifying has some drama as 38 times on the board. Let's quickly look at the power rankings where, of course, with Drake Mittag's win, he slides up 3 positions to 5th, but new onto the board. Zachary Drapkin and Mason Prater.
Yeah, there's, the usual suspects up there: Edmondson, Dashalet, Countryman, Swain, Canup, Barry. Not surprised, but with that, like you talked about, that big win with Drake Matag putting him up there. But Zach Drapkin, he's been caught in the back. He's been fighting his way. I know he's been putting his time in. I expect to see big things out of him in Long Beach.
Let's take a look then at the starting grid for the first of our 4 heats for the signature Propellers Long Beach Surfside Showdown, where Matt Adams puts it on pole and will lead us to the green. He'll have the Terminator Tyson Miller alongside, and then Wes Graham, Keith Jeffrey, Austin Schreiber, and Gavin Plummer, the front 3 rows. Remember, front 4 advance at the end of 4 laps. Eric Jones, Fouad Baran, Thad Countryman, and Drake Mittag, the winner of last week's event, with some work to do at the back of the 10-car field. It is a standing start as well, so no rolling through the hairpin and clumsily tripping over one another. And race control now quickly grabbing a final word with all the drivers before we let them loose for the first time tonight.
And what a great shot there. That's the long stretch, and you see the VIP lounges there, as well as the TV and announcing in that area. It's awesome. Best seat in the house right there.
I thought the best seat in the house would be the
right behind him.
thought the best seat in the house would be the roller coaster.
Yes, that's true too. That's a good spot.
See, now Daytona's got the Ferris wheel, Long Beach has the roller coaster. There's a great look at the truck. It is early in the morning, so you have to wonder if there might be some visibility issues for the drivers in virtual reality with some glare coming between some of these buildings. One thing that iRacing replicates quite well down Pine Avenue is a bunch of restaurants. It always makes me hungry when I drive down there.
And they all are great restaurants for sure. It's usually our ritual before we go. We go to our buddy Eamon's place, then we head down to get a little bit of chicken and waffles at Roscoe's. Got to do that in Long Beach before the race.
As a routine, like for the Indy 500, my routine is Charlie Brown's. That's the place I have to go to. So
great place.
Every great race has got those great iconic spots as well, and you got to go hit them. Just waiting on Tyson Miller right now, I do believe, before we're allowed to get going. But it's about 800 yards down to turn 1, so there's opportunity if someone doesn't launch these machines well for things to change around. And this is different from the standing starts that we have at Crandon, Dave, when you're on the dirt. I'm sure launching these machines off the asphalt's going to be very, very different.
Oh yeah, they're going to have pure traction going for sure. That's for sure. 4 wheels are going to be biting that asphalt and concrete. Now that's the one thing about Long Beach. It's not all asphalt. There's a lot of concrete there too. It's another animal when you hit that concrete.
That's a good point. I've been using that term somewhat interchangeably just because for these machines it's very, very different from the dirt that they traditionally go racing on. 4 laps does mean roughly, with lap times around 1 minute and 30 seconds, 6 minutes per heat, so expect these heats to fly past relatively quickly, and then what is going to be a 10-lap main event where we'll have a competition caution at the end of lap number 4. We'll stop and get 1 lap back for any cars that have gone laps down. This is a long hold for Tyson Miller. The Terminator's gone missing.
Kind of strange to see it. Now, how long will they wait?
That's a good question. Now you're going to go send me into the rule book. See if we can get an update from race control. I've just shot them over a message, but I do see everyone else lined up and ready to go. That's another great look at the... It is sunrise, technically, isn't it, here? Because it's just touched 8:30 a.m. in the virtual iRacing, as there comes the Terminator, so we're not far away from getting going.
Which the sun is in the southwest position, because that's where the bay is in the Pacific Oceans, where the sun is. So that doesn't make sense. It would be setting in that position usually.
We'll gloss over that. At Daytona, Dave, iRacing, because of course Daytona Beach Airport is right by the track there, they have a plane, and someone on the internet, which is always a dangerous thing to say, calculated how fast that plane was landing at, and it's landing at 400 miles an hour. Exactly. So I think certain things we're going to have to ignore. Now you've said that, though, I'm never going to not see it.
Yeah. See where the shadow is? Because that's west. Kind of like a southwest, actually. Sun won't be setting.
Well,
because the harbor's right there behind on the other side of them.
Word from race control is that they're just holding because there was some oddities in that qualifying session. Like I did mention, this is going to be weird because you can't run off the track. iRacing has what's called an off-track system, so as soon as you trigger one of those, your lap in qualifying gets invalidated. But because you got the walls on either side of you, if you even brush them, you get what's called a car contact, Dave. And so I wonder if there was a few drivers who were flirting close to the wall and just got a little bit too close as we get ready to go.
Here's a curious fact, how close, do you have to actually scrape the wall, or are they close enough where a piece of paper could fit between you and they're going to call it?
You always want to leave a little bit more margin, I would say, in a situation like this. But the lights will build, the engines will rev for the first time tonight as we get set for Heat 1 of the signature Propellers Long Beach Surfside Showdown. Good start from some behind. Drake Mittag got his run blocked, though, as they got towards the start line. Off to the opening corner. Remember, it's around 800-odd yards. And to the inside, Matt Adams has still got an opportunity to hold the lead. Tyson Miller's not going to be too brave around the outside with a tire bundle awaiting him if he's too greedy on the brakes. Single file as they slide up to the hairpin. Remember, top 4 to move forward.
And that's what I talked about. There's going to be a lot of contact. You're going to actually probably physically move some people to get through those sections. You can see there's no room to pass through here. Unfortunately, there's going to be contact. I'm not going to say we're going to see it so much in the early heats, but later on, as we progress and get in the LCQs, it's going to get a lot more physical.
Drake Mittag's already up to 7th. That's 3 spots gained on the start, but in front of him, no one has moved a position. And so the question will be, 3 laps to go at the line. Can Mittag in that 518 climb 3 more positions and get in front of Keith Jeffrey and advance in to the main event directly? Down Eastside Way, a couple of machines scrape the wall. Some fiberglass has gone loose, but the front 4 build their advantage into the braking zone.
And we're definitely going to see a lot of different, lines developing. Matt Adams, of course, he's going to have the fastest lines out front. But everybody else, like you said, they're going to be able to go outside those lines. They're going to be able to, scrap the wall, whatever you have to do. And you can see, there you go. There's the physicality I'm talking about.
That was 3 wide for a moment, and somehow Drake Mittag was not pointed in the wrong direction, but they definitely cost each other some ground. There's no question about that. And 1.7 seconds now, the gap between 4th and 5th. There's once more into turn 1. They're going to go wheel to wheel. It's Eric Jones alongside of Thad Countryman this time around. And around the outside, that's not what you want to do. It can get you a slowdown. It can also take you directly into the tires, and Jones just avoids any trouble.
Yeah, he just barely missed those tires coming around. That is you got to be careful on that line coming through that corner. One of the ways, they always say go a little wide to hit it in, but the problem is to set up for the next turn, you're way out of whack.
Great move up the inside from Mittag through 5 to slide past Gavin Plummer. Now he's got to try and focus up to first Austin Schreiber, but a growing advantage up to Keith Jeffrey. We're about to get halfway through this first heat race, remember. We've got 4 of these heat races before we even glance into an LCQ. 2.1 seconds the gap, though, for your leader. Matt Adams is flying here on a road course. Very, very comfortable.
I was kind of noticing how they're coming off. It's almost like they come out of turn 1 at Firebird. They come up, they turn 1, they hit up the wall, they go. These guys are using the wall to slow themselves down a little bit.
It's a bit Ross Chastain-esque, going all the way back to the Hail Melon, if you will. Once more through the hairpin. I was worried about that one. They all stack up, and the look on board with Drake Mittag for a moment. That was Gavin Plummer and Thad Countryman coming to blows. 2 more laps to go, though, and those front 4 are now not fighting with one another as much. The 2nd, 3rd, and 4th not split by very much.
Yeah, I was expecting a little bit closer battles, but you could expect that from the times we saw. It's just when you get into these hairpins, we're going to see them stack up a little bit. That's where we're going to see a lot of contact.
It's been a great fight back from Mittag, I will say. After the issue in qualifying, if he was one of those drivers to have been afflicted by that, and he's not going to make it into the main event directly from here, but at the very least what he's done is give himself some slightly better start position for one of those 2 LCQs, where only the top 2 are going to advance. And so based on what we've seen so far, Mittag very good at moving forward. We might get a good example of what he looks like in defense in those LCQs. All the way at the back of the field, Fouad Baran and Eric Jones, they're ready to brawl.
Yeah, that's a good point you brought up, is getting a better, even if you don't qualify the higher position, he's made it up to 5th now. You're going to do better in the LCQ. You want to be out front. We already seen what happens through the first term. You got a lot of speed, then everybody starts back, stacking up. When you go through the roller coaster, the hairpins, it's going to be tough to pass.
You say it's going to be tough to pass, but one thing just springs to my mind. I was commentating on the IndyCar Pro Esports Championship they had last year. Max Verstappen, his esports team was racing, Dave, and they had an incident at the end of EC Sideway, at the end of the back straightaway, where one of his teammates ran into the back of someone else, and effectively, I can't use the exact language because I'll get kicked off the air, but the emphasis was, in an IndyCar, you can do the bump and run. So if any of these drivers watch that, the message from Max Verstappen, get physical here at Long Beach.
And I've actually raced karts here as a kid, and that's what we did. We got very physical. I raced the sprints and also the enduro karts here, and boy, I'll tell you, they work great scooping through the corners. You just kind of lift the rear end of the car, and that's what I saw already through that 90 degree. When they're getting on the they're getting on the brakes, the binders, the rear ends lift a little bit. The nose drops. You got somebody coming behind you when that happens, it's like a scoop. It's going to take you out of shape.
I love just the nuance of car dynamics watching on iRacing. It's something they do really, really well, as much as we also love seeing the bodywork going flying as well. Fouad Baran, that's Eric Jones giving them a shove as they exit out of 8 for the final time. That's at the very tail end of the field. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, out of the hairpin, Matt Adams, 4 seconds clear after 4 laps. He's comfortable on the streets of Long Beach, and he wins in Heat 1 of the signature Propellers Long Beach Surfside Showdown. Tyson Miller, Wes Graham, and Keith Jeffrey move forward, but give a shout out to Drake Mittag, 5 positions gained, just shy of a transfer spot.
Yeah, very, very impressive for that young man the way he drove. But it's going to be, difficult coming on LCQ. Could he repeat the win again? I don't know. It's going to be tough, especially with Matt Adams, and Connor Berry with those times, Luke Knupp. We didn't see what Luke Knupp can get, but after 4 laps, man, Matt Adams, congratulations to him, Tyson Miller, Wes Graham, and Keith Jeffrey are going to the dance.
Well, and for Channel 199 Sim Racing Team Championship in play, keep that in mind. So, front 4 have it now relatively comfortable to watch from the sidelines. Everyone else going to be trying to watch for who to keep an eye for. Connor Barry and Luke Knupp. That's a front row in heat number 2 as we get ready to rumble. Dennis Mickelson, Matthew Lindy inside the cut line as it stands at the start. Tom Grady and Christopher Plumley share row 3, and while 10 machines are lined up, Cross Kirchmeier, Joey Herbie, Keaton Swain will get underway. Aidan Irvine, as ever, in race control, keeping all the action flowing. Keaton Swain's got some work to do from the back of this field, Dave.
Yeah, I'll tell you, this is a stacked field of talent right now in this heat race. And, not a place we're used to seeing Keaton Swain, not qualifying great, being in the back of the pack, having to fight his way up. It's going to be up to Luke Knupp and Connor Berry. They're going to go into, defensive mode. Those two will be battling with themselves, which could give some drivers some, a little bit of chance. These two drive smart, and they know they're in a qualifying position. We'll see how they play it out.
Remember, there are a couple of points up for grabs in the heat races as well. So for Barry, Knupp, and Swain, 3 of the championship protagonists, if you will, they're all going to be thinking a little bit about that. Just final words from race control, but I've just seen the word has gone out. We're getting ready to rumble, so we'll keep an eye up to the left. When that flicks yellow, these drivers will start to see the lights build, and then 800 yards into turn 1, will it be Barry or Knupp that leads? You get the feeling both are going to be brave, and both will try and give it their all. Heat 2 of the signature Propellers Long Beach Surfside Showdown is go, and off the line. Great jump from Barry. Closes the door on Luke Knupp instantly. He's going to have to cover to the inside as they rumble to the end of East Shoreline Drive, though. And behind them, 2x2, fanning out. No one yet, single file. Knupp trying to find his way back to the inside, but now Dennis Mickelson is there as well. There's a bit of argy-bargy behind as Tom Grady goes a bit sideways, but I can't quite believe I'm saying this. 10 machines up to the fountain, all in a straight line.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of contact there, Lindy and Grady for sure, but a great move. And you can see that Connor Berry actually moved out a little bit to make Connor go, a little bit deeper, but Connor just pushed Luke right out, set up the line just perfect for himself.
It's so interesting watching these drivers on the brakes here, where you don't move around as much as you do on the dirt. Now, Plumley and Grady, they're playing crisscross city for 5th and 6th, but what they've done is allow those front four 1.6 seconds out of turn 8 for the very first time. This is suboptimal. 700 yards where they've just lost all sorts of speed to the end of this back straightaway. Luke Knup's going to go to the inside and try and challenge for the lead, though, as they sweep through turn number 9 to the inside through the hairpin. That will give Knup the opportunity. Mickelson's not going to wait around too much as well. Lindy's in the action, 4 at the front, and all stacking up through the hairpin.
I can see that they almost left the door open there, and you saw Mickelson trying to go up the inside. So Luke not only trying to make a pass on Connor, can make a mistake. You got to really, have more spatial awareness with the other drivers around you, especially on this track here. If you're trying to push somebody out of the way, you may just open the door for somebody else to slip on the inside.
This was what those behind were hoping for, but those behind starting to brawl even harder as on board with Luke Knup. That's a look of focus on the face of the team goal number 5 as he almost rides the gearbox of your championship leader. Remember, 3 wins to open up the season for Connor Barry, including one of our Triple Crown events. And last week was by no means a poor points event. He's still very, very consistently up towards the front.
Yeah, definitely some good lines. If you really pay attention to these lines he's setting in, he's hitting the entrance, hit the apex perfect, sliding it out, driving it like a road car. Even though it's Pro 4, and that suspension is a lot stiffer than it would be. There's no jumping. You don't have to worry about that. You can set that thing as stiff as you can.
And four-wheel drive is not necessarily the most common for a car that goes racing on asphalt and concrete, right? You'd traditionally be a bit more two-wheel drive. Four-wheel is something that we've seen in modern prototypes, but not much outside of that. Now, they're not going to be 3 wide because they instead decide to play bumper cars up the inside for Keaton Swain, who's not made much inroads. He gets bullied out wide for a moment, but he's going to lunge to the inside of the hairpin as on his outside, there's a car that flips up and over. Cross Kirchmaier gets the door, and Race Control's going to take a look at that one, and Keaton Swain might get some penalty points going his way.
I don't know. I think Keaton had the established position. It looks like he probably got Crossfire turned into him. I'd love to see a replay of it, but, once you get your nose, you establish your foot, it's like keeping that door open.
Benefit of iRacing, infinite camera angles to go back and watch these incidents, and incidents are plenty. There was a change for last week. Drivers no longer have to report any incidents. Instead, Race Control goes through every single lap and reviews every bit of contact manually, which, just gotta say, Dave, they're taking on a mighty task in terms of time.
Yeah, that is very time consuming for sure, but you know what? It makes everything fair. Okay, let's take a look at it. Now, look at Swain coming up the inside. Very clean right there. Now, this is where we go left, and then the right is going to be set up after this one. Look, bam.
I agree.
Swain had that position.
Keaton was right on the inside as well, right? It's not like he's gone out wide and missed the apex by a country mile. So, yeah, no, you're right, actually. Keaton holds tight, and maybe Cross Kirchmaier getting a little bit too crossed up on the steering and too tight. Top 2 have run away. Mickelson and Lindy have lost out, and so 1 lap to go from Long Beach. It's the Knup and Barry show once again, running at the front of the field.
Yeah, Mickelson and Lindy have been going at it. I mean, Lindy is all over Mickelson. Mickelson's got a protective mode right now, which, at this point, you're in a qualifying position. Yeah, it's going to get you a little bit of a better spot for the main event, but you are qualifying. Don't take a chance of taking you both at this point. But I think Connor's, and Luke are actually fighting for some points, but Connor is on point himself.
Absolutely. I think for Luke in particular, knowing that he's had an up and down start to the season, all things considered. He's had the speed, not always the luck. He kind of needs a couple of extra points from finishing this heat race at the front of the field, but 7 tenths between them might be a little too late. As out of turn 5 for the final time, Mickelson's looking pretty comfortable as well in front of Lindy. Kirchmaier is the only driver sitting in pit lane. Through all the chaos we've seen so far, attrition hasn't played a huge part, at least just yet.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was like, I wasn't thinking it would be much, and we saw in the first heat. Well, here we are on the second and third, and they were getting a little bit more physical.
Benefit of the sim world as well, the fiberglass instantly put back onto the car after your 4 laps of racing. You don't have to pay that virtual repair bill. Luke Knup's put the pressure on. He's put some moves on Connor Barry as well, but the championship leader is going to exit out of the hairpin, and by winning in Heat 2 of the signature Propellers Long Beach Surfside Showdown, he'll line up at the front of the main event when we go racing for 10 more laps behind. Lindy gets in front of Mickelson. That's important to get him some grid position coming into that main event. And while Keaton Swain does not advance, he's moved himself up to 5th position, done all that he really could.
Yeah, these LCQs, boy, I tell you, there's some major talent going to be in LCQs tonight.
You definitely don't want to...
Seeing these heat races stacked with the talent already is crazy. So Connor Barry, an incredible job. Luke Knupp, Matthew Lindy, Dennis Mickelson. But as you mentioned, Swain, he'll be up front when he fights in the LCQ with Grady, Plumley, Herbie, and Kirchmeyer will be joining him.
It's pretty crazy to see all the factory SimSport entries there as well. Grid for Heat 3, Winkler, Dashalet, and then Deshore and Drapkin front 4. Mason Prater, Adam McAfee line up 5th and 6th positions. 9 trucks to roll off once again with Brock Smith, Solomon Bershinger, and then Trenton Briley at the tail end of the field. I saw at least one person in the iRacing short course chat cheering on for 906 Dirt, someone else cheering on for Team Gold and for Lindy. We're going to see a couple of those drivers at least in this respective race. And like you said, more physicality in that last race. I think they're all getting a sense, Dave, for what they're going to get away with from their fellow competitors.
Yeah, and I think that's right. I mean, these guys have been watching the other 2 heat races, looking where they're going, looking where people are getting stacked up. And for example, I would have paid attention with Keaton Swain. If you're getting tight back there, what Keaton Swain went real wide that one turn to set him up through those next 3 ones to get that pass that he did on Kirchmeyer. That was a nice move.
It was a beautifully set up move. And once we looked at the replay, you could see that Kirchmeyer maybe just didn't expect Keaton to stick it that well on the brakes. These cars slowing them down, it's not the easiest things by any means, and we're not reaching 170 miles an hour like an Indy car, but 130 is not slow into turn 1. Just waiting for one final driver, by the way, Brock Smith, before we get this race underway.
Now, I should have asked this question before. Do they take brake fade into account?
No, unfortunately, iRacing does not do brake fade. That would make
That's one thing in Long Beach with these high speeds, and you're getting on the binders so much, those brakes would heat up and become a little mushy. It feels like you're stepping on a sponge.
Well, that's the new trend in sim racing, actually. We've seen everyone with their force feedback in the years past, now with virtual reality.
Yep.
Now they have force feedback brakes and throttles, Dave. So I'm sure there's someone that makes a brake that can replicate what a mushy brake pedal feels like under heat load.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like, why aren't I stopping? And the harder you push, the softer it gets.
See, it's always interesting talking to drivers who go from the sim to real. I was talking to a driver who's a bit tall. He's 6'2" or so and fit just about into the cockpit of a car where his left foot was riding the clutch and he was blowing his gearbox and no one knew about it. Things you don't think about in the sim racing world as we get ready to go for Heat 3 in the signature Propellers Long Beach Surfside Showdown. Great start from the pole as Winkler's going to command this gallop down into the opening braking zone. Dashalet, Deshore, and Drapkin trying to potentially single file it out amongst the 4 of them, but keep an eye out for Mason Prater, Adam McAfee behind. No Brock Smith on this start, so only 8 trucks as we dive through the opening corner, and around the outside, a bold move from Nicholas Dashalet to the lead of the race.
Yeah, you can see he was trying to move him over there, coming off that first turn there, and he was trying to get through the center. Very smart setup. Trying to move into your line, and that's what he took control right away that way. Winkler settled in. Dusher and looks like Drapkin are in qualifying positions, but Mason Prater, Trenton Briley, you got some heat behind you, boys.
I think, and again, Trenton Briley, one of those drivers caught out in qualifying. Dashalet's lost a bit of time. He's now dropped back behind the 720 and has to watch Deshore as they make a bit of contact off the corner, running down East Seaside Way for the first time. That looked like Deshore running into the wall a little bit by himself as the track gently brings itself back towards the right into the braking zone at turn 9. A single file between the front 4 as they qualified. at the end of the opening lap. Let's see if Sean Winkler can open up his advantage a bit wide through that hairpin and gets a bit more contact as they stack up behind.
And Briley just forced his way by Prater, literally opened up that can of tuna going through that corner. Man, ripped it open.
We were saying you can be aggressive. That's exactly what Trenton Briley decided. He's only now a second behind Drapkin. So does Prater want to work with Briley? He's looking to the inside, so answer seemingly no, but might be a bold send under the brakes from there. Definitely committed. Briley had to open the steering, give him the room, but Prater slides his way on forward.
And a nice move back there by Prater as he sits up around the fountain they go. Good they stay out of the flowers. I'm glad that's a no zone.
Batman's looking on, by the way. We should be careful what we say. He might come after us.
Yeah. I'm Batman.
And like we were saying, virtual reality for some of these drivers in this particular race, I think that will be very, very helpful. Just trying to judge how close you are to these walls. And
that's a good point. You could actually, you can literally look through your side. Oh, big push there.
Through turn 8, Deshore is slammed into the tires, but I think in these trucks you'll get away with it. Drapkin's going to bump the back of Nicholas Dachelet to the inside of turn 9, and the move's made up in the fight for second.
I'm not met whether he just missed a shift there or whatever. Drapkin was accelerating, kind of dropped back for a second as he make that move now into third. Deshore also now going to turn it up there. Oh, goes a little wide in that corner. You should have really got down low. You got to, we're seeing you got to force the situation.
This is great racing, though. This is, even without jumps, a showcase of why the Pro 4 trucks can go to many of the road and street courses around iRacing and put on a show. So maybe the next thing for the iRacing short course series is a dedicated series with just road courses. That's the 909 really opening up the entry to turn number 1.
I actually like that idea. Seeing a series racing asphalt, all the famous tracks.
I mean, there have been leagues where, they put the NASCAR machines and they only race on road courses. So we could do the same things as well. I was just taking a look, by the way, Brody Deshore, by going out so wide through turn 1, what you're actually doing is going onto the pit exit, which in iRacing gets you a slowdown because they don't want you to be there. He served it. He's not lost too much time, fortunately. But that's the thing these drivers have been encouraged to do. Outside of the fountain where they've been told they can't cut, they're allowed free reign around the track to run whatever line they want. They just have to serve whatever penalties iRacing will give them as well.
And that could just be a slowdown racing or a slowdown.
Yes.
So you don't have to go into the pits necessarily and serve it.
That would be painful. That would be really bad.
Yes. And a great move there. You see that they're keeping it tight. Dachelet, Drapkin. Now we can see Trent Briley still fighting with Mason Prater back there. Now this is going to come down to, with the final lap, the white flag's out, who's going to get in front of each other for that LCQ.
Yeah, they've cost each other too much time in this fight, and that's the constant story that we've kind of seen as Brock Smith has just jumped into pit lane. So I'm hoping that means he will get out there for an LCQ, and there might have just been a slight issue that stopped him from rolling out for this third of the 4 heats. So still one more 4-lap dash for us to get to. The driver that wins this race is going to line up third in the main event, which will be 10 laps long, and that's Sean Winkler right now, who's 3 seconds in front of Nicholas Dachelet.
And Winkler with a great run here for sure. I mean, the times are looking pretty good for Dachelet. Not far off of the qualifying times we're seeing. But you can see that Dachelet, Drapkin, he's way back there. And Prater's coming up on him quickly, it looks like.
He went for it, that's for sure. Did the 909 and now forces Drapkin to be defensive for the final time, running to turn 9. Squeeze, there's barely a truck's width there. Drapkin's defended very, very well. He's going to have to watch, though, this run towards the hairpin for the final time, as plenty of contact being made as they run bumper to bumper into the brake zone, shoving their way through the hairpin. Sean Winkler wins, though, Heat 3. Dachelet, Drapkin, and Deshore, the rest of the running order. Only one change between those 4 inside of where they qualified. Mason Prater and Trenton Briley really closed the deficit on the final lap.
And you can see Deshore looked like he was trying to use Drapkin as his brakes there. Drapkin was on the binders. Cher was a little later on the brakes and hoping to force him into a mistake, but as you can see, it turned out well for Winkler, Dachelet, Drapkin, and Ducher. With Prater, Briley, McAfee, Borschinger, and Smith, 3 laps down, but at least make it to the LCQ.
They say 8 breaks are better than 4, and so I can understand what the 909 was thinking. Ready to go. Final heat of the day, and it's going to be Cody Winicki and Josh Edmondson, who were pretty quick in qualifying. Up on that front row, Evan McFarlane and Tyler Shattuck, row 2. We saw Matthew Lindy quick. Does the KES 444 have some speed in its setup? Crystal King and Carl Cooper just miss out on the automatic transfer spots in terms of qualifying. They'll line up in row 3. Jeff Ives, Christian Noble, and then Cody Vanderveer, the 9 that will get ready to go. Remember, 4 to move forward, and the last couple of races increasing in their physical intensity.
Well, I mean, it's definitely gotten crazy. I just can't wait to see what the LCQs are going to bring. This is going to be a good one. Like you said, Edmondson had some great lines. He had some good times with Winicki. See what McFarlane and Shattuck and Crystal King. She had a rough one last round. I expect her to be doing a little bit better. I know she's probably been putting her time here in Long Beach.
She's just had a rough season, to be honest. Hasn't done much wrong, and nothing's gone her way. Still sits.
And it's not been her fault. I mean, exactly. I'm going to say it plain. It's nothing. She's like in the wrong spot at the wrong time a few times.
And she still sits 14th in the championship. So I think that tells you plenty about just how quick she can be, even with that misfortune. 4th and final heat. As the lights build, we're ready to go. It's going to be Cody Winicki, Josh Edmondson on the front row. Signature Propellers, Long Beach Surfside Showdown action once again. Good launch from that front row. 3rd for Evan McFarlane's going to see him be able to clear Tyler Shattuck. It's Crystal King, 5th in line. Going to finally give us some excitement down into the left-hander, the first braking zone of the lap. She's shaping up in that Shenandoah Shine machine, and she'll have an opportunity because Shattuck's all sorts of out of shape. Everyone's out of shape. Evan McFarlane's gone to the lead of the race from 3rd position, but everybody through the fountain section for the first time.
And you can see they look at their coat. Might be a little infraction there. They went through the flowers, tiptoed through the daisies there. It didn't do them any good for sure. McFarlane with a beautiful move there. Edmondson showing some great speed. We can see Winicki on the move there. Kyle Cooper, we saw him go by on the 73. He's back there. He's already got some front end damage back there too, it looks like.
This could be the first race where the pole sitter does not go on to convert. As you see outside of that front 4, Crystal King and then Carl Cooper, Jeff Ives squabbling with one another. That's all sorts of out of shape for the 906 dirt machine, but avoids clattering the inside curb too heavily onto EC Sideway once again. Side by side for the race lead. Evan McFarlane's on the outside as Edmondson tries to block him off. Into the wall momentarily for the 444. Cody Winicki finds his way around the outside. Hits all action in this 4th and final heat.
And that's a good spot. That's exactly how Swain did it there. Winicki jumps down to the inside, gets McFarlane back to 3rd. Vanderveer, you can see him there. Fiberglass flying through the air. Crystal King still just outside that bubble right now, but Vanderveer is in her sights for sure. Now watching this going around the outside, McFarlane trying to make a move now. Winicki trying to get to the inside, but he's going to be on the outside of this turn and they go into the left-hander.
He's trying to induce an overcommitment on the brakes, but McFarlane's wise to it, does not make what would be a rather rookie error at this point in the race. Feeling the pressure, dealing with it, that's the same whether you race on the dirt, whether you're here on the streets of Long Beach. So these drivers know exactly how to defend in these sort of situations. It's those lines, though, and executing on them, which can be a little bit more difficult to do. Vanderveer is not far away from Crystal King, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that 4th and final transfer spot. There's a look behind the wheel of the 159.
Yeah, great shot with Vanderveer. He's looking very calm right now, very focused. Total on that last qualifying position. Looking smooth. You can see Winicki up in his sights up there as they continue to battle with McFarlane. Now, this is a good time, I'd say, for Vanderveer. Get up into that position, that we saw that Swain did. If he can get up there, because this is a good point to go on the outside. It's not close enough yet.
His hat said, "Make America wild again." I think we need to make that front 3 fight a little bit more intense, and then he'll be right there. Crystal King and Carl Cooper starting to hold each other up for 5th and 6th position. So Van der Veer in that no man's land as we finish the second of our 4 laps in this final heat. Is Cody Winnicki going to get close enough to the 444 to have a look? Remember, can't go out too wide in that opening corner. It will get you that slowdown. They're all leaving that truck's width as they slide off to the left.
And they, unfortunately, they think you're going to the pits, like you said. So that doesn't do them good.
Ooh, hits the wall there, does the 444. A little bit too aggressively trying to open things up.
Now that,
stalemate right now, though, isn't it, Dave?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It was like nobody's doing nothing. It's stalemate for sure.
This will be a great shot, just working that suspension, especially coming out of this long right-hander. You'll just try and get the power down. And look at that margin. Look how close to the wall they get. And like we were saying, Dave, in VR, you can glance out to the left and you know exactly how much margin you've got.
Yeah, definitely. You can see the damage there back there on Winnicki's car. A lot of front-end dents going on there. Looking at the inside, he goes a little wide again. McFarlane with a great lines right now.
Edmondson's clear as well, so I think McFarlane's more just focused on holding up Cody Winnicki. And like we were saying at the start of the race, after everything that happened, first time our pole sitter isn't going to go on to convert and win their respective heat. White flag in hand. Where does Cody Winnicki, who started this race from the front, elect to go on the 444? They've got a full second back to Cody Van der Veer, but they don't want to open that door into the braking zone for the final time.
So Krista King back there in that 5th position with Kyle Cooper not far behind her. She'll be in a good spot, though. She stays where at going in the LCQ as we break them up a little bit.
Should put her inside of the front 2 rows. Don't know exactly which LCQ she's going to get filtered into, but it's going to be crazy. Top 2 to advance. I would be very, very glad if I was one of those 16 that advanced directly from a heat race.
Oh, yeah. This is what I would not want to go to the LCQ, because there's going to be a lot of talent, and we only take 2 out of them. And you don't know which one you're going to be in and who you're going to be with.
I'd almost prefer to be in an LCQ at Crandon starting 10 wide. I don't know. That's just crazy to say.
No, it makes sense. You have a better chance, I think. Here it's just, wow, you got to be on point.
Got to be on point and hope for the best as well. Cody Winnicki thought about it for a second, but then thought better of it. It's been interesting this 4th heat, that's for sure. The first time, pole position has not gone on to convert, and so Josh Edmondson's going to grab the win in this 4th and final heat of the signature Propellers Long Beach Surfside Showdown. Evan McFarlane, Cody Winnicki, and then Cody Van der Veer to move on forward. Crystal King gets quite close at the end of the day, but it's too little too late.
Yeah, she was able to get up there, give him a little bump there, but unfortunately it was only, coming up to that checkered flag.
It's the Channel 199 sim racing machine on top. I tell you what, they've got a great chance of maximizing points in terms of team championship today, but everyone outside of the front 4 has some work to do in those LCQs, Dave.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, McFarlane with KES, they're not in it, but Racecraft or Factory Sim Sport, they got a few points there. Crystal King, but unfortunately, she has to go to the LCQ to prove that.
And we had one of our heat races where 3 factory machines missed out as well. So regardless of the situation, it would be quite remarkable to see at least 4 of the factory machines advance. Ready to go, though, with our LCQs. It's going to be 10 to enter, 2 to advance. And last week's winner, Drake Mittag, alongside of his teammate Mason Prater, can they control the tempo at the front? Austin Schreiber, Trenton Briley will line up behind them with that countryman, Adam McAfee, 5th and 6th position. 7th goes the way of Gavin Plummer. 8th for Solomon Borschinger, with Eric Jones and Brock Smith at the back of the 10-truck field. Again, 4 laps on the board. Only change from the LCQ, Dave. It's 2 to move forward rather than 4.
I'm trying to figure out, that picture did not look like Mason Prater. I don't know who that was. Okay, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. This one, Mittag, Prater, Briley, Countryman. Oh my goodness. Some, I'm not counting out Schreiber or, McAfee, but I'll tell you, those are 4 big names that usually sit up there and fight their way in the mains.
Have gotten word that Solomon Borschinger will not take to the starting grid, so 8th position going to be empty as we get ready to rumble. Remember, just those 4 laps, roughly 6 minutes of racing, and we've packed a decent amount of action, to say the very least. 2 of these LCQs, let's see how much more fiberglass we can send flying. Race control has just let the drivers know. Focus towards the lights, rev those engines, and the signature Propellers Long Beach Surfside Showdown gets ready to head into last chance qualifier action. The cars squad up and away they go. Great launch from Drake Mittag. Crater's going to be under pressure though. Austin Schreiber jinks one way than the other as they head down to turn 1. Bradley, Countryman and McAfee behind as well, just plotting where do they place themselves. Middle of the track for the top 2. Schreiber finds a door and tries to force it open though in the fight for second.
And I'm seeing that as a couple of teammates right up front, correct?
Yes, indeed. They've done very well, actually, out of the fountain to still be 1 and 2, headed through 4.
Yeah, that's going to come down to it. These two, definitely fighting for their team. You also want to get your teammates into the main event. Those are all the 2 qualifying positions. Schreiber, you can see him. You can see Briley, we just were on board with. And you got Countryman back there. And then Gavin Plummer, Brock Smith, who unfortunately had that issue and had to get forced into the LCQ. He's back there, but I'll tell you, it's going to be tough with Mittag. And Schreiber gets by him. But look at Mittag, just bye-bye.
Schreiber made that move very, very nicely, and now Prater's trying to figure out which way the Team Gold pair will go behind him as well. Briley to the outside, down into turn 9. He's going to try the 2-for-1, but he's overcommitted surely. Slides back behind Austin Schreiber. Drake Mittag has sailed clear at the front of this field. Last week's winner, surely just thinking about how his main event is going to go, but they'll stack up into the hairpin behind. Schreiber gets pushed wide. Briley bullies his way forward. Prater back up to 3rd, and action down towards turn number 1 as the fiberglass goes flying.
Yeah, Prater will have the inside line coming through here, but you got to establish it because you go kind of like a little bit of a right, and then it's a big drag race for these guys.
It's an 11-turn track, but in these machines, they must feel like some of those corners go on forever. That's contact between Gavin Plummer and Thad Countryman behind. Schreiber and Prater still squabbling over 3rd position right now. Exactly what Briley wants to see. If he can get an opportunity to fly away like Drake Mittag, he will not look back. He will take that with both hands.
Yeah, I mean, these guys usually, we have 1 or 2, left turns, right turns, mostly left turns. There's a lot more with those 11 turns here. We're mixing it up quite a bit. So these drivers, it's a lot more physicality, even in the sim. You got to work a lot more.
A couple of these drivers even have motion rigs as well. Imagine what some of the contact must feel like as they the walls. That's a bit of contact for Austin Schreiber, and behind they've stacked up. Brock Smith sees Sky for a moment, but it's Gavin Plummer that loses out and drops to the tail end of the field.
Well, we were missing jumps. Brock Smith found his.
And Mason Prater missed his braking zone. He's found the wall instead.
Yeah, definitely a little late on it, for sure. Wasn't expecting that out of Prater.
Well, I tell you what, Trenton Briley's got his opportunity. Prater and Schreiber are so intent on knocking 10 bells out of one another. There's now 1.5 odd seconds between 2nd and 3rd positions, and they're still going at it to turn 1 once again.
Yeah, you can see Schreiber trying to get a big move on the outside. Prater's going to push him a little bit wider, trying not to establish that preferred position coming into it. But the left-handers here. Mason's going to come around the inside. You're right. They are intent on letting each other know they're there.
Yeah, no, I don't think they even think that there's a car up in front of them anymore. This is their fight for the win right here. Here's a look at the replay of slightly further behind. Oh, and he just gets squeezed into that tire bundle, which is jutting out from the wall.
Yeah, it's definitely will send you into the pits with that issue.
Well, attrition. Still have all 8 trucks out there, 9 trucks rather out there. Not that high, all things considered. So these trucks take a beating, definitely more than an Indy car. So that's nice to see. An Indy car loses part of its front wing, and they start complaining about downforce. We lose part of the front nose, and we just think the trucks look better.
They look cooler. That's right.
It's battle scars, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't want to break a canard off on an Indy car.
Think about how much that costs.
Oh, jeez, yeah. Oh, yeah, somebody told me that nowadays, the clips used to be expensive back in the day, but they could be up of $30,000, $40,000 now.
I can believe it. That is for sure. One final lap in this LCQ, and top two looking somewhat comfortable, I would argue. Drake Mittag and Trenton Briley have stayed out of most of the fighting. Austin Schreiber and Mason Prater have somewhat separated themselves out on this final lap of the race. 2 miles left to go.
Yeah, Trenton, he had most physicality out there. Drake Mittag pretty much jumped out, didn't look back, but Briley worked his way up, got through Schreiber, Prater, and never looked back from that point.
This is a track which was first hosted racing back in 1975. Formula One came here the following year, and IndyCar, or CART, first came here in 1984. The layout that we're running, only since 2000 have they been using this. And I've got to say, I sometimes go back and look at some of those old layouts with some of the high speeds that they had back then. Running a Pro 4 around those, that would have been also very, very interesting.
Yeah, we were hitting in the old, because I'm not going to say how old I am, but back when I raced the car laydown carts, we hit about $160.
That sounds scary.
And that's with two 100cc motors sitting underneath your shoulders.
Well, we'll have to go find some videos of that if we can. Drake Mittag out of the final quarter, drifts and slides his way to the line. Victory in style in the LCQ, but the work's not done. He'll line up towards the tail end of the main event. He'll bring Trenton Briley with him, and everyone else done for the day in the signature Propellers Long Beach Surfside Showdown.
It's hard to get used to seeing Mason Prater not go to a main event. Or even Countryman, they've been there.
Yeah. Eric Jones, Gavin Plummer, Brock Smith at the tail end of the field. These are some drivers who you wouldn't be surprised to see in main events either. It's just the reality of the short course national series now, with only 20 drivers in the main event and a field of almost 40. Half of the names are going to miss out, which is just crazy to think about as we take a look at the results of LCQ1.
Yeah, it's crazy to see. Impact SimSport got up there with Drake. That's great. Team Gold, Trenton Briley. They're still on the board there for the team points, so great to see. Then Schreiber and Prater, unfortunate for those two, not making it.
Top two confirmed from that LCQ. No race control changes. Let's go, though, for LCQ2 with Swain. Yes, Keaton Swain at the front of this one. He'll have his teammate Crystal King alongside, and then one more factory SimSport machine. Tom Grady inside of Carl Cooper. Let's see how they control proceedings at the front, with Plumley and Shattuck 5th and 6th positions. 7th for Joey Herbie, and then Christian Noble, Cross Kirchmeier, Jeff Ives, and Fouad Baran. It is going to be 11 in this respective LCQ, but still only the two to move on forward. We are just waiting for race control to give the final command to the drivers, but I think this one is going to be very, very interesting between the three teammates at the front of the field. Commands being given, eyes towards the lights once again. And the two final spots in the main event of the signature Propellers Long Beach Surfside Showdown are on the cards. Who gets it? We're about to find out. Swain launches pretty well. So does Crystal King, but as expected, teammates 1, 2, and 3 as they run their way down East Shoreline Drive. First non-factory SimSport entries, Carl Cooper in 4th. Where does he pop himself? He's going to have to shape to the outside with Tyler Shattuck looking there as well. Teammates play bumper cars, though, through the braking zone. 37 gets out of shorts as Shattuck loses some speed. It's Swain and King, still 1 and 2, though, out of the fountain.
And you can see Plumley trying to get up in there as he gets by Grady. You can see, up and over, and we got carnage going on. 4 or 5 cars all caught up in it right there. A couple able to get by. That's going to move up Kirchmeier. Kirchmeier, unfortunately, had that incident early on, got flipped with Keaton Swain. You know he's probably got Swain in his mind right now. But back in 5th, it's going to be tough. Now up to 4th with Grady in 3rd. Crystal King, though, and Keaton Swain able to check out. That helped them quite a bit.
Well, that's our first big one of the day, that's for sure. And only those top two not involved. Everybody else tangled up and various extents of damage through the field. Plumley and Ives already sitting in pit lane. They needed the flatbeds assistance to get there as well. Not expecting them to roll back out onto track. Meanwhile, Joey Herbie and Cross Kirchmeier around the outside. Herbie's going to hold on to that position. Realistically here, they're just fighting for bragging rights. There's no points on the line for any of these drivers, only those 2 spots in the main event, and Swain and King looking pretty comfortable right now, so 3 laps just to settle it between the 2 of them.
Yeah, quite a lot of damage back there, and you can see Ives still in the pit. I guess his is the Ives of March on that one for sure.
We almost need some Benny Hill music and just to play that sequence from after the fountain. I'm sure we can place a camera by turn 4 and there would be some entertainment.
Oh.
The fiberglass going flying, I was waiting for that to happen. iRacing simulated that quite well.
Yes, that's realistic, I'll tell you. Love the overhead shot as we watch this unfold. You can just see the carnage. The 37 of Shattuck gets all the way side, and Cooper, Borland, and then everybody else follows. And that's how Kirchmeier and them got up into it. Cooper. Oof.
Maybe one more look at it from above, but I almost wonder if Tom Grady, he's on the inside 3 wide, so he's got limited options, but he's the one that hits the wall. And then from there, the chain reaction kind of starts. He might be the one race control is most looking at, but you get the sense multiple people might take some blame for that. There have been a couple of drivers at the front of the championship who have had points penalties. This will give us another look. So he's got shoved once, twice, thrice. I mean, yes, he hits the wall, but he's got pretty limited control.
Was a little out of shape already, too, though.
Yeah, they're all, I mean... Again,
they're all out of shape.
benefit of the sim is you get on boards with every car, and you can move cameras around at free will. So, yeah, our poor race control team, they're going to be here till next week.
Yeah, I love seeing the background. You can see all the Weiland paintings on the building there at the convention center.
iRacing have done a great job, I think.
Yeah.
For years, this track used to live in what they called point cloud format. So it wasn't finished. You didn't have all the buildings around, and you just had these fake, like almost, it was like from a movie kind of things, like kind of the Matrix kind of vibe. When they said they were going to do this, I didn't quite believe it was going to look this good. But like I said, you run down Pine Avenue out of turn 6, and I get hungry because I see a California pizza kitchen, and I go, ooh, I want some pizza.
BK, baby.
It's just how my mind works, unfortunately.
And Bubba Gumps is over there, and the Shark Club.
See, it's going to be very different next week when we finish up what has been a stretch of 4 consecutive rounds back at the Wild West Motorsports Park. We're definitely not going to be talking about all that food. This is the view from Joey Herbie now. This is how he got through all of this. Now, I say get through all of it. That's probably the wrong adjective because he's in all of it as well.
Yes, he felt every bit of it too, I bet.
Oh, if he's at a motion rig, that would have been uncomfortable.
Yeah. That's when you see your chiropractor the next day.
Several trips to the chiropractor are required after that one. So no changes, as many would expect, as we get ready to end this race. Our final lap begins. 2 more miles for Swain and for King, but for Kirchmeier and Herbie, like we said, between the two of them, still some bragging rights. So off to turn 1, running down East Shoreline Drive for what will be their final time tonight. As Cross Kirchmeier is going to have to cover that middle, cover the inside into the braking zone.
And you can see the final lap, it's going to be Swain and King are going to take it. But, Plumlee, I'm sorry. Yeah, he's just shocking to see him all the way in the back, too.
Yeah, he's going to be frustrated. Although, I will say, Factory Sim Sport, they'll lose Tom Grady and Plumlee, but at least they've advanced Keaton Swain and Crystal King. They're not going to be getting many points at the back of the main event, and so they will have to move forward. We will have a competition caution at the end of lap 4 of 10, so an opportunity to pack the field back up. We might see plenty of the trucks looking like this, a bit Mad Max-esque after 4 laps, I think.
Yeah, a little worse for wear, for sure. One thing I think they left out is the Taco King. There's islands.
See, maybe that's what iRacing has to do. Every year we need to come back and update it with new restaurants. Poor iRacing art team shouting, Arjuna, why would you do that to us? We've already got enough work, just not adding Wheatland at least yet. Anyway, out of the final corner, here comes Keaton Swain. 5 and a bit seconds clear of Crystal King, his Factory Sim Sport teammate. But the championship contender has done enough to make it to the main event, but the hard work's only just beginning. He's going to line up 18th of the 20th when we get ready to go.
Yeah, that's going to be a little rough for seeing him all the way in the back. It's going to be a rough, one. But it's good to see Crystal King, especially after the way she was a rough season so far, we'll just call it.
Rough to say the least. We'll grab a look at our results, see who we are saying goodbye to, And then get ready for the main event of the night. 3 factory SimSport machines at the front, but only the front 2 to move forward. And so bye-bye to Tom Grady, Cross Kirchmeier, Joey Herbie, to Carl Cooper, Tyler Shattuck, Fouad Baran, and Christian Noble, alongside Jeff Ives as well, who finishes this one 2 laps down, 3 laps down on the board for Christopher Plumley. We've got about 3 minutes of a warm-up session for the drivers who advance directly from the main event, from the heat to the main event, to get back on track and to maybe grab a brief warm-up session. But before we take a look at more on-track action, for those that missed the start of our coverage, special video as these drivers talk about this special treat coming to Long Beach for the signature Propellers Long Beach Surfside Showdown.
I'm really excited about Long Beach. I think it's going to be a great venue for the iRacing Short Course League. Being a sponsor for it as well is going to be really cool. I think it's going to be one for the books. I'm excited to see what happens, and I can't wait to show everybody what's coming for it.
I am definitely excited for Long Beach. It's going to be a nice little switch up from the normal stuff we have on here, since we only have 4 tracks.
At first I thought the truck track combination was going to be rough, considering the type of turns at Long Beach and the Pro 4 kind of being more on the understeer. We'll see. I guess time will tell, but I'm interested to see how it's going to turn out.
I am excited for Long Beach because I am the only one who's ever won there before, so I'm hoping to make it 2 for 2.
It's going to throw a wrench in the situation for a lot of the teams out there, and having all these trucks on the same track in those tight corners it's going to be interesting. So excited to see how it plays out.
We've switched the dirt for asphalt and concrete as we get ready to rumble for the signature Propellers Long Beach Surfside Showdown, halfway through the iRacing Short Course Pro 4 National Series in 2025. I'm Judah Kankipati alongside of the voice of off-road Dave Arnold, live on RaceSpotTV and on the iRacing Short Course channels as well. And already we've seen some incredible racing. 4 heats, 2 LCQs to set our field of 20 for the main event. 10 laps of action, an invert of the front 2, and a competition caution at the end of lap number 4. Dave, this could be one where a championship is really set in swing. Can Connor Barry continue to push his advantage, or the rest of the field push him to the back?
Yeah, that's going to be the question right there. You know, he already got one down. Can he come back and rally? It's going to be the question. He's going to be up front. It's going to be curious, but can Keaton Swain find his way up? There's going to be a question there. Still elusive win for Keaton Swain.
I'm not going to bring up how many days it is. You brought that up first today, just for the record. You can see the warm-up just finishing up as the drivers practicing. Knupp and Barry, we saw them in their heat together, so we've already seen a bit of the action. Red number boards on the side of Connor Barry, by the way, if you want to try and keep an eye on our championship leader, who, remember, 3 wins to open up the season. It was Drake Mittag a week ago who put himself into victory lane. How will they rumble though for 10 laps here? Here's how they'll line up. It's Connor Barry after winning heat 2 that grabs the invert to be on pole position. Matt Adams has been flying through the event so far. Keep an eye out for him in that Channel 199 sim racing machine to try and break away. Winkler and Edmondson line up on row 2 with Tyson Miller, the Terminator, alongside of Luke Knupp. Some work for him from the outside of row 3. 7th for Nicholas Dashley, 8th for Evan McFarlane, and 9th for Wes Graham alongside of Matthew Lindy to complete the top 10. Drapkin and Winicki share row 6, 13th and hopefully not unlucky 13th for Keith Jeffrey. Dennis Mickelson got physical in this heat and he's back in 14th in that Boozy Racing number 41. Brody DeSure 15th, Cody Vanderveers alongside with Drake Mittag, Keaton Swain. First drivers to advance from the LCQs alongside of Trenton Briley and Crystal King. That competition caution, Dave, at the end of lap 4, we know it's going to bunch the field up. I think it means lap 1's going to be crazy.
Oh, yeah. I have a feeling this is going to be a physical main event, more physical than we've seen all season. Just from what these drivers have experienced so far, they know where they got to push those, corners. They got to get in there. They got to push those cars out of the way. See Connor Barry chatting a little bit and probably trying to figure out maybe with his spotter what's going to be going on.
And maybe Matt Adams' teammate not going to be too aggressive through the opening corner with Connor Barry. That might be the help that he needs. Drivers have been given the instruction, eyes towards the lights, and it's 10 laps of racing in the main event of the signature Propellers Long Beach Surfside Showdown. It's Barry and Adams on the front row as the green drops from the streets of Long Beach. Paul Sitter gets a great launch as well, and Matt Adams is already there. He's going to cross alongside and pop to the outside on the championship leader. How aggressive does Barry go under the brakes? Front ends dive down onto the brakes. The field of 20 goes, and Adams sweeps that speed around the outside and carries himself to the race lead into the fountain section. Winkler bumps up behind Barry as they all make contact behind, but can they avoid concertinaing up through the fountain? Just about. Much cleaner than our LCQs.
Yeah, there's a lot more trucks going through this, that's for sure. A lot more footsteps behind these other drivers, and I can say it's going to be tight here. We're going to see the physicality start to come into play as we get into the next couple laps. It may lay off. I think probably it's going to get more aggressive after the comp caution. On that restart, I expect a lot of carnage.
Should be single file on that comp caution restart as well. Restart zone's rather late down that main straight, so there won't be much speed into turn 1, I think, but have to see what time will show us out. Off turn 8 onto EC sideway once again. Front 10 or so, not really forcing the issue on one another. It's behind, where there is a little bit more chopping and changing and some movement. Zach Drapkin, though, trying to prove me wrong from 10th, shuffles to the inside of Evan McFarlane.
Yeah, you can see some of the drivers were getting hard on the binders going through there, trying to set up for their position. Here, I don't think the inside line is always your best friend. We already seen a couple times you go a little bit wide there, and it sets you up for this turn, that hairpin to get your nose in there. You got to get in tight. You could force the guy on the outside up into the wall. So we're going to be seeing a lot of drivers going for that move. We saw Swain with that move. I bet you we're going to see it from again. And I guarantee you back there, Briley, the same. He saw that move. He's used it also.
Pretty sure Drake Mittag threw it up the inside at the hairpin, and he's moved himself to 14th, but it's really cost some of those behind. Out wide for Mittag now. That's not ideal. He's going to get a slowdown, and he makes that contact with Van der Veer as well, so it's almost a double penalty as he now gets checked up behind those in front of him. All sorts going on there. Hand in the air for Van der Veer. I think that car is done as he pulls to the side of the track.
Yeah, a lot of contact there as we saw that. He got on the binders, but unfortunately got in the back of the other drivers, and issues ensued from that. And you can see they are now starting to just stack up pretty much single file at this point. That's why I think when we get to that comp caution, or Juno, it's going to get crazy.
I know we're just in for the calm before the storm, but look at this at the front. This is interesting, right? Adams has not broken away. He's got Barry and Sean Winkler behind him. So it could be three fast trucks at the front of the field come that restart. Josh Edmondson behind, I think feeling a bit of pressure from Tyson Miller and Luke Knupp, who hasn't really made his way forward just yet. We know how much Luke was looking forward to today. He won in the Pro 2s when the iRacing Short Course Series came here for an unofficial race a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and you can see Sean, we're on board with Sean Winkler. He's got some good speed. Now, there's a gap back to fourth right there with Edmondson. You talk about Edmondson getting tied up with the Terminator, Tyson Miller, just a little bit. But Winkler's got some speed. If he can just focus what's in front of him, as long as Edmondson doesn't try to force the situation, and get up on him. And I think we're going to see that, though. Again, I hate to reiterate myself, but the comp caution, it's really it's going to get nuts. We're going to see the lines get, more aggressive, I think.
See, it's so interesting. I haven't ever been to Long Beach. It's on the bucket list, that's for sure. But I have commentated on it so many times with Indy cars before. It's just so weird. Not bad. It's good weird to be commentating on this, and it's been a lot of fun. We've said how much this should be a regular occurrence on our schedules. I'm thinking Pro 2s might be even more interesting because these trucks have four-wheel drive to power them off the corner. It makes it slightly easier in some ways, but also makes it a bit more difficult. As a road course racer, you always kind of want a rear-wheel drive machine. Gives you a bit more flexibility on the inputs to try and control the car. We'll have one more lap before that competition caution, so 2 more miles, 11 turns, and Connor Barry's right behind the bumper, the gearbox of his teammate, Matt Adams.
And that's one thing you brought up about the different in the vehicles. The Pro 2s, the front end tends to push a little bit more. So you got to set up a little bit wider. You can't dive into the turns as tight, and they're not going to pull you out as quick. So it's a little bit more finesse to drive in the Pro 2. I think they can be more aggressive It's like, you know, the more prototypes or the more modern vehicles that have gone to the all-wheel drives, they seem to be a lot quicker.
Yeah, because it's all off the corner as well, right? But it's just a slightly different driving style. Like you say, you square up the corner a bit more, you arc it in, and once that car is straight in the all-wheel drive, you can just put the power down, which, as an IndyCar person, that's why I've kind of fallen in love with on the sim for the most part when I drive. It just doesn't compute with my brain, but also hybrids don't compute with my brain. That's a different discussion as well. They're going to exit out onto the back straightaway, and Conor Barry still not close enough to Matt Adams to have a look, but close enough to have some concern, I think, that he could grab a 4th win this season. No one's going to get a lap back, so we're not going to spend too much time stationary. But what this is going to also do, Dave, is let these drivers cool down their tires, which might be a rather important thing. You see some side-by-side further behind us that looks like Keaton Swain on the charge.
Yeah, you're not going to be going in and changing tires, that's for sure, on this one. I think letting the tires cool down, because it does affect the way these vehicles handle for sure. Now, remember though, when you get on the binders and you're coming into a corner on dirt, the front end disengages, so it allows the truck to rotate a little bit. Kind of wondering how that plays into, I really didn't think about with the asphalt.
Yeah, no, those are all things that, you know, also setup-wise to try and compensate for.
Yeah.
Lindy, by the way, was the one in the fight with Winicki. That was not Keaton Swain, but I think he's just missed out on jumping in front before the competition caution. So bring things to a close, slow things down for the first half of the race. We'll get back going with 5 laps remaining. Adams, Barry, Winkler, Edmondson, and Miller, the top 5.
And I'd be curious to ask some of these drivers about the brake bias setups. You know, versus dirt versus the asphalt.
Obviously, the more frontwards you have the brake bias, you'll slow down, I guess, faster, but you'll be able to turn less, right?
Yes, yeah, so they lock up, you know, you're not going to be able to turn. But you also need it going into the turn, too. And you're not throwing the rear end out.
The way Brian Toole described this it to me like this, and I think this is a great way to describe it. There is a pedal, rather there is a cable effectively between the bottom of the steering wheel and the top of the throttle pedal. So when you're turning the wheel, you can't necessarily put the throttle down as much. If you want 100% throttle, you need the wheel to be straight, which is very true in all race cars, right? Whether you're on the dirt or on the asphalt.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
See, that's
I mean, it's amazing the setup to think about, like you just brought up, you know, in combination with how you set up with the braking and your gear ratios. Tire pressures, too, is a factor.
Yep. I can't even imagine asking these drivers about tire pressures. Did they have to do it differently for the 4-lap race versus the 10-lap race, even with this hold in the middle? Sean Winkler, qualifying. Good point. That was a 1-lap session for some of these drivers, let's not forget. Sean Winkler's locked in right now. He's ready to go.
Yeah, and he's, you know, running that virtual reality where the other 2 drivers. I'm not sure what Adams is running, but Connor running the standard sim set. Not on VR.
Not on VR, I think, for Matt Adams, but I could be wrong on that one. Our restart zone, I did mention it slightly earlier. It's deep, by the way, down this pit straightaway. So it's relatively close to turn 1. So we're not going to see too much speed into the braking zone, but it will mean that the field is going to be that much more compressed running out through the fountain section. So they're still pacing right now, but we're getting ready to go. Half this race left to rumble. And it's going to be Adams from Barry from Winkler. The top 3 that built their advantage in those first 4 laps. Are they going to be able to build up their advantage this time? Will they be allowed to? Because, as both Dave and I have been alluding to, we're expecting things to get crazy from this point forward. Lots of fiberglass to go flying.
Yeah, definitely, especially this close to nose to tail. Will Adams be early in that start zone or late? Will he play a little head games with them? Psychological warfare could come into play.
His teammate, though, is behind, so you expect maybe some coordination over the radio between the 2 just to make sure they can control this jump. They've also got Josh Edmondson in 4th, so it could be a Channel 199 sim racing 1, 2, and 3 by the time we exit onto turn 5, onto West Shoreline Drive. Here we go, into the restart zone, and off and away. You can see those behind not waiting as well. That looked like both Keaton Swain and Crystal King, but no change up towards the front of the field as they dive out through the left-hander. It's through the fountain where potentially there will be some opportunities. Winkler's got a great restart, though. He's right on the back of the top two as they pirouette out of turn 4.
Yeah, this will be the setup through here. This is where we saw it last time, where the drivers change up the lines a little bit as we come into these net set of turns here into this left-hander.
Looks like
this is where the setup starts.
Looks like the first gap is between Cody Winicki and Keith Jeffrey. So first through 11th, somewhat close. Lindy getting in front now of the triple, the triple 3 getting in front of the 88. We'll see if that gap continues to build. Already Edmondson, though, losing track of Sean Winkler. That was a gap that grew pretty quickly in the first stages of the race. Matt Adams and Connor Barry still locked effectively between a couple of car lengths. Now as we'll finish this first lap, 4 to go at the line, and you wonder if Matt Adams is going to be able to hold on. He's been so quick over the course of the event so far.
Yeah, we're already into the hairpin. I would have figured some action already through here. I mean, 4 laps is going to happen quick. This is, I mean, I'm amazed how fast these laps happen.
90 seconds or so for the drivers under full tilt. Edmondson alongside of the Terminator, Tyson Miller, as they cross the start-finish line. Look at the gap up to those front 3, though. It's large, and that's where Edmondson feels that pressure around the outside. Miller gets pushed wide, which means I think he's got to be careful that he doesn't pick up that slowdown we've mentioned before. Also be careful he doesn't do what Evan McFarlane's just done there, which is be pushed into the tires, the 444 in the wall.
Yeah, that was not a good position for him, that's for sure. Now we're watching, you know, Edmondson. He's holding off at the gap. Edmondson was so worried about Miller. Now he's going to have to go into protection mode. But Edmondson's a seasoned racer. Whether it's been motocross or it's been racing on the sim, he's going to be able to focus what's in front of him. I think he can put Tyson Miller behind him in his head. He's behind him physically, but mentally needs to put him there so he can move forward. There are no comp cautions. Take a look again here at what happened, and you can see the 444s. Didn't really get shoved there, kind of, I think, carried too much speed. A little late on the binders.
Maybe just not expecting the slightly cooler tires as well. Now, Matt Adams has had a couple of technical issues here and there, has disappeared from the track. What's that putting through Connor Barry's mind? What's he thinking as out of the hairpin one more time? They're really pulling their advantage behind Winkler. Problem is they're bringing along the 720 with them. A look from up above as the teammates go side by side for a moment, the KES Industries pair. Lindy has to watch out, though, because he gets tagged from behind. That looked like Trenton Briley as they slowed down through the hairpin. Front 2 back off to turn 1, pulling a bit more of a gap to Sean Winkler. Connor Barry, 3 laps to try and find his way back to the lead if he thinks he wants to get there.
And I'm watching the fiberglass flying off now of McFarlane. Lindy and him on the bottom are battling it out as we look at the top and see our leaders, the top 3. A big gap back to Edmondson, my goodness. And I was actually kind of shocked that they gapped him out that much. These 3 have broken away. They haven't actually slowed down at all. You'd think that Adams would think about, oh, I got to protect. Oh, no, he's running his own race. If Barry's going to do something, he's going to make him, you know, work for it.
I will just note Keaton Swain is in pit lane. He got tangled up, I think, on that restart. Crystal King's been involved in an incident as well, but she's still running, albeit down in 18th position. A difficult day for a couple of drivers fighting from LCQ2. 2 laps to go at the line, so just under 4 miles for these 3 at the front of the field. It's an opportunity for Connor Barry to grab yet another win. It's almost his 20th win in the National Series. On the other side, got 2 drivers that are going to be thinking they want win number 1 in the National Series. Some hungry drivers as we cross the line with 2 laps left to go.
And look at Adams just start to pull away. Didn't expect them to have that much more power than Connor Barry pulling out there. You see battles back there are just, I mean, it's amazing the gap out there that we're watching. These 3 are another level right now. And I gotta tell you, I'm impressed with Winkler. Winkler's giving Connor a run for his money right now.
I think that's the big thing, right, is the fact that Sean Winkler, through the entirety of this main event, has stuck right there at the front of the field. Matt Adams, in practice at one point, was 7/10 quicker than everyone else. The field brought it down to roughly 3/10 or so, but he's not broken away by any means. He's been pacing around Connor Barry for the most part. onboard look with the Racecraft Academy 720. I'd like some lessons on how to drive a Pro 4 this well on a road course. As around goes Drake Mittag, smoking as well. That's a difficult end to the day for the Impact Sim Sport number 18.
Yeah, that's not going to get him far right there. It's a shame for him. He worked so hard to get into this one. But that's sometimes the way the cookie crumbles in racing.
Showing some good speed, though, so we'll see plenty more from him in the back half of the season. Remember, 5 rounds about to be complete as we cross the halfway mark of the Short Course National Pro 4 Series. There's going to be a look at a replay on top. Keep an eye out as well, though, as we get ready to start the final lap of the signature Propellers Long Beach Surfside Showdown. That was a 333 of Matthew Lindy getting caught up together with Drake Mittag. But here we go. 2 more miles left to play.
Yeah, this is just incredible. I mean, just to see the carnage that ensued with these 3 breaking away. And the contact's been minimal. I mean, as I say that, there's a little bump from Winkler letting Connor know he's back there. The white flag's out. Final lap. A mile here at Long Beach to be decided, a new winner possible.
I think you said it best, though. There was just a little bit of a lean, not too much contact between second and third. Matt Adams is in control, though. These 3 have been so closely matched. It's shown, I guess, that you had to, in some cases, be physical, be willing to make some daring passes, Dave, to make something work. In the case of these 3 at the front of the field, haven't shown much intent, but they also haven't made any mistakes.
And like you said, Adams and Winkler looking for their elusive win they have not had. Connor Berry, you know, hey, if he takes a loss in this one, still keeps his points going. Looking at Luke Knupp, the closest one in points, he's back in 5th. So that is a couple more points he's not going to gain on him.
It's just all building for another championship run for the number 2 as he slides out of turn 9. His teammate Matt Adams in front of him has just got 1 more corner left to go, though. On the streets of Long Beach, we expected someone new to come out on top. Weren't sure who it was going to be. It's Matt Adams. Last week, Drake Mittag became winner 21 in the National Series. Matt Adams is winner 22. He does it in the signature Propellers Long Beach Surfside Showdown. Connor Barry and Sean Winkler hold him honest all the way to the very end. This was great, and hopefully we do this soon, and hopefully before the end of 2025.
I would love to see another road course now after this one. This is darn exciting. And I love the way they switched it up. I really love that. I want to see more of this added to the iRacing short course.
The good thing is, I'm not sure if you knew this, Dave. I was kind of alluding to that through the course of the day. October 15th, we're going to Watkins Glen in the Pro 2 National Series. So we will indeed get another road course this year.
Love Watkins Glen. That's going to be exciting too.
Question.
Man, I'm just shocked at this one right now. Matt Adams, he came out swinging, fast qualifier, took top honors, took the win in his heat, and came out top.
And it's what Channel 199 Sim Racing wanted in their team championship fight against Factory Sim Sport. But all eyes towards victory lane. And for Matt Adams, he'll burn it down on the streets of Long Beach. Only 2 tenths clear, though, of Connor Barry, who's just consistently at the front, even when not winning, makes his presence known. Sean Winkler, a blockbuster day for him as he grabs the podium in front of Josh Edmondson and Luke Knupp, while Factory Sim Sport do grab 6th and 7th with Miller and Dashley in front of the other Racecraft Academy pair in the top 10. Wes Graham and Zachary Drapkin. Cody Winicki crosses the line 10th, the best of the Impact Sim Sport entries, with Team Gold's Briley 11th, McFarlane down in 12th with Brody Deshore, Dennis Mickelson, Crystal King, Drake Mittag, Keith Jeffrey, and then Matthew Lindy 18th, Keaton Swain 19th, I do believe, and then Cody Vanderveer at the back of the field. Tell you what, though, let's not keep our winner hanging around. Dave Arnold standing by with the driver of the 404, and victorious from the streets of Long Beach, it's Matt Adams.
Matt Adams, you came out swinging. You know, you qualified on top. You took the heat win. And, man, talk about this race. Incredible. You're up in the front. You and Connor Berry, teammates. Tell me about it.
It was just a great race. I love road racing. It was fun to come to my favorite track. And, man, I got a great team behind me. Connor and Sean really did a good job not beating the rear end off my truck going through that hairpin. It's really hard here.
Yeah, that hairpin, we saw it, of course, in a couple of the heat races. Definitely a few guys getting punted, a lot of contact. I think I saw the only contact. Winkler came up and gave a little bump to Connor. Other than that, you guys ran a very clean race. Was that a little bit okay, I don't have to worry about somebody beating me up from behind?
Yeah, I think we just all work together so much, and whenever we're in a race like this, no one wants to be the person to send a teammate off into oblivion, so I knew they weren't going to send me into the fence, but I was ready for a little bump if it came, so.
Well, talk about how you prepared for this race. I mean, this is something that we don't normally do, is come race Long Beach in a Pro 4. But, I mean, what was going through your mind, the setup? Do you guys really all as a team get together to, all right, you work on this, I'll work on this, and we kind of figured out what works?
Yeah, we all just hop into session, and I want to say Cam Pedersen, Josh really helped out a lot this week with the setup. It made a huge difference having some other people clicking around and figuring out what was best. You really have to throw the kitchen sink at something like this that isn't done often because no one knows what the best route is. And I think we found it.
I think you did too. It actually showed you had the quickest times up there. And one of the things that you did is you're now only the third winner so far this season now to take it and take Connor Berry down.
Well, yeah, we're going to try our best. And I want to thank Channel 199, Track Racer, and Racecraft for making this all possible.
All right. Congratulations, Matt Adams, taking the win here at Long Beach. And I do believe Arjuna is standing by with Connor Berry.
It's not another medal, but it's another podium at the very least for Connor Berry. Congratulations, Connor. Talk to us. How do you feel after that 10 laps of action, just stuck behind your teammate for the majority of the race?
Yeah, it definitely was fun. It definitely was tough out there. And honestly, I did not think I was going to be that good. I'm usually am not that good at this stuff, but I put in a ton of work. And I mean, I got to qualify in the second spot. I was able to win my heat race and I got P2. So it definitely was a good night. And I'm glad that I was able to walk away with a pretty good points haul. I missed out on 3 points, I believe, because I was able to get, I got the fastest lap. So yeah, it definitely was good, and I'm pumped. I am pumped on it.
Talk to us about the differences about being here on the road courses. Dave and I, we talked a lot about the lines that some of you were running. It was interesting watching defense and offense, how that changed. But, there is another road course race in the Pro 2 National Series at Watkins Glen later this year. So, doing this sort of racing on the asphalt, on the concrete, it's something that, you're going to have the skills for in this National Series across the diversity of tracks that we're going to start to include.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a different type. It's really about being smooth, and I think that's honestly why I was able to find speed fast. I always try and focus on being smooth, and I think that is something that I was able to get on fast, and it's all about being smart too. You have to time to time those drafts as well, and yeah, it definitely is fun, and I can't wait to go back in the Pro 2, and it's going to be at the Glen, and hopefully I'm in. It's going to be a better one. And I will be able to, I think I can go out there and win that one. So it's going to be fun. So yeah.
Well, Connor, halfway through the Pro 4 National Series, leading the championship, things looking very well for you, all things considered. Congratulations on another great run. We'll see you next week as we head back to parts a little bit more familiar.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Connor Berry in the number 2 Channel 199 Sim Racing machine. And now we have third place, Sean Winkler, standing by with Dave Arnold.
John Winkler, wow, you found some speed tonight here. And it wasn't expecting, in a Pro 4 in the asphalt to see how fast you guys could be. But, man, you were right on par. I mean, Connor, you were glued to his rear bumper.
I tried to be. I mean, he's a 2-time champ. He's multiple champ. Matt Adams is a Porsche iRacing champ. These guys are fast as heck. So to be that close with these guys, I'm very happy about that. Yeah, this was an awesome night. As good as it could have turned out for me, I think.
Did you maybe put in a little extra time there at Long Beach trying to figure this out?
I turned a few laps, maybe a few more than others, but I know this track okay. I've raced it before, so I understand it, and I like road racing anyways, so I think that's a little stronger than my dirt road racing. I was able to hit my braking points and kind of keep the truck underneath me, not slide it, make sure I entered the corners good, and we just kept our speed up, kept glued to Connor, and just brought her home.
One of the things that Arjuno and I were talking about too is, the guys that are running VR like you. Is it a little bit more advantage because, you could actually look over, see how close you are to the wall, where it's a little harder with just regular monitors? Was that an advantage, you think?
Well, I don't want to give away any secrets, but you are able to kind of spot your apexes, okay, in that thing. And if someone is getting close to you, you can kind of look behind you and take a look and kind of understand exactly where they are. So I think it's not a disadvantage, let's put it that way. I've enjoyed racing in VR. I've been doing it the last 5 years, and it's great. Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, I got a big question I have is last year we saw a little bump on Connor coming in the corners, and we've seen this race early on in the heat races, the LCQs, they were a little bit more physical. I mean, was it you're like, all right, he's the points leader, but, I'm in third place. And, were you trying to say maybe I could force the issue? We saw it a couple times, forcing guys a little bit wider in their lines just to change it up. Were you in that, or you're like, okay, wait a minute, I'm not going to push this. I'm sitting third place.
Yeah, I'm sitting third place. That's a great spot to be to get into the interview here. You get a good run here. The draft is huge. There's a giant power pole on the draft. So you get a good run, but I didn't want to, stuff it in the corner and take us both out or do anything too risky. I know at the end of the day, like you said, he's the points leader. Matt's running away with it, so I'm just going to hold my station. And if there is a mistake, obviously I'm going to try and take advantage of that, but Connor doesn't make very many. We ran a lot of laps practicing here leading up to this, so I knew how he races. He knew how I raced, and we just kind of did our race. Yeah, it was good.
Well, last question I have for you, because Connor mentioned it, you mentioned it, the drafting. Not something I usually say in a Pro 4. Drafting doesn't really come into play.
No, it doesn't usually come into play. Yeah, around It was big. It was big here. If your truck is clean and you have a good run, the draft is pretty strong in these trucks. They're giant boats, so if you can tuck in a hole there and get in line, you can get a nice tow and gain some speed. And that's where you're seeing that. I was giving Connor a little bump draft there down the straightaway, just kind of pushing him to the corner, but I wasn't going to do anything too stupid and ruin both our nights. So I just wanted to bring it home and have a good evening.
Well, we're all stoked to see you up there. You had all you guys had a great race. So I know you probably got some people to thank for it.
Yeah, before I do, Arjuna, I know you made a joke about me earlier not being able to close and sell a house, so I'm on the podium now, man. You kind of owe me one. But I just want to say thanks to Racecraft Academy. Thanks for them letting me drive for this team. It's been great. NLR, Real Broker, my brokerage. Everybody, watching out there tonight. It's been awesome having fans out there. Kenny, my man, thanks for tuning in. You guys, obviously, for putting on such a great broadcast. I love watching this back with the boys. It's super fun. So thanks, Dave. Thanks, Arjuna, and everybody else that makes this thing happen. Yeah, it's been great.
Well, congratulations, Sean, man. It was good to see you up in the box, and can't wait to see what you do next week now. Momentum, baby.
Well, he got things closed today on the track at the very least, so well done. For Sean Winkler, shut me up as well. Well, half the season is now done in this Pro 4 National Series. 5 rounds left to go. Dave, we'll have one more of our back-to-backs before we'll get at least a week off as we return to something a little bit more normal for these drivers. Return to the dirt, and I believe it's the Wild West Motorsports Park.
Yeah, looking forward to going back up to outside of Reno and Sparks, Nevada. I'll tell you, one of the tracks that has the most elevations that we're going to see at any of these off-road parks.
Very different compared to the flat track that we had today, but the streets of Long Beach, plenty of action to say the very least. First time the Pro 4 National Series has come here in the world of iRacing short course. It's Matt Adams that grabs the victory. He locks himself into the playoffs later this year. So much more to come. For the team behind the scenes, Dave Arnold alongside myself, Arjuna Kankipati. Thanks for your company, and we'll see you next week from Wild West Motorsports Park.